Forget the talk about the Bruins not being able to score. Last night, it was the defense that let them down, and it cost them a win in Vegas.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Friday, October 17th. Thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. And on today's episode, we are discussing the loss last night to the Vegas Golden Knights, what it revealed about Boston's scoring depth and defensive identity, and why Marco Sturm's message is being tested early. We'll also look ahead to the back-to-back this weekend against Colorado and Utah, plus our Bruin of the day. It's all part of Locked On Boston Bruins, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Before we get into today's show, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes, at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan, and I have been covering this team and the NHL for various outlets for nearly 20 years. You can find the podcast on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, so please do follow and subscribe. So the Boston Bruins last night went into Vegas after having taken part in a team-wide poker tournament, players, staff, coaches, and they did not exactly perform to their best in terms of defense. The Bruins are proving they can score. They are, and the Athletic even admitted it today in their current power rankings. Their projection was that no forwards other than David Pastrnak were going to score. Through 5 games, they have a bunch of forwards who have found the back of the net. 5 of them have multiple goals. That is not a one-man show. That is balance. And if you look at last night's game and you see Mark Kastelik, Mikey Eyssimont, Tanner Jeannot finding the back of the net, as well as Nikita Zadorov, you should expect this Boston Bruins team to come out with the win. David Pastrnak chipped in a goal as well. It was the bottom 6 that really carried the mail again for this team and delivered in a big way. Kastelik, Eyssimont, Sean Kuraly all had multi-point efforts. Tanner Jeannot scored early to give them a 1-0 lead. Nikita Zadorov ripped one home from the point that was initially credited to Jeffrey VL. But it was the depth guys who we have been questioning all summer, all training camp, into the regular season. They are the guys that did their job. They worked hard, and that's what they talked about before the game, was getting these guys involved and contributing. The fourth line of Kuraly, Kastelik, VL was arguably Boston's best. They won battles, went to the net, sparked a third period push that almost erased a 6-3 deficit. To their credit, similar to the game against Tampa early on this week, the Bruins kept fighting. They were down by a score of 6-3 when William Karlsson scored a shorthanded goal and a power play goal to make it, 6-3. Kastelik scored, Eyssimont scored to bring it back to within 1. But they were not able to come all the way back, similar to that game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the problem wasn't the offense. You get a power play goal from David Pastrnak, cuts it to 4-3. You're getting closer, but then the defense just completely wasn't there. Neither was the top six. You got no points last night from the likes of Morgan Geekie, from Casey Middlestat, Pavel Zacha, Victor Arvidsson. Actually, sorry, Geekie did have one assist, as did Elias Lindholm, but the second line was pretty invisible. Middlestat, Arvidsson, Zacha combining for 0 points. And how many shots on goal? 0 shots for Middlestat, 0 shots for Zacha, 1 shot from Victor Arvidsson. That's not going to cut it. And the points for the other guys on the big line came from the power play goal by Pastrnak, which was assisted by Geekie and Lindholm. So nothing there at 5-on-5 last night. The bottom 6 did their job, but the Stars and the structure were lacking behind. The grit is kind of paying off. But if Boston's going to be more than just a try-hard team, that commitment has to start with their best players. And that's the challenge facing Marco Sturm. He wants his team to play with detail and discipline, and he knows that when they don't, you're going to get nights like Vegas. You're going to get nights where you just completely fall apart. And this was a winnable game for the Boston Bruins. Sturm said he does not want to be playing in those back and forth, high-scoring games. He's a defensive mindset coach, and it starts from there. He thinks offense will come anyways, but you don't have to cheat the game and give up opportunities at the other end of the ice. The Bruins made a lot of mistakes. Pastrnak admitted a lot of breakdowns that ended up in the back of the net. He credited the penalty kill for doing pretty well. Swayman made some big saves, but they have to be better as a team. They did show some fight back, as they did against Tampa the other day, but that is pretty much, he said, the only positive from the game other than the fourth line doing their job. They played hard the whole time because they put in the work. That's what they talked about before the game. The Bruins, we thought, were going to have only one line this season. Last night, it was the fourth line that was the only line that showed up, and that's not necessarily a recipe for success. They were right there, though, within one goal till the very end, which is encouraging, but you can't have that many breakdowns. You can't have that many you can't be giving up shorthanded goals off a brutal misplay by Casey Middlestat. They did allow 2 power play goals. So the penalty kill, obviously, it wasn't going to be 100% all season long, but that's slowly coming back down to earth. They scored on the power play, which is impressive, but they only had 3 opportunities compared to 6 for Vegas. So that lack of discipline coming back to bite them again. Too many penalties, and including late in the game where they were looking for the last tying goal. Charlie McAvoy took a penalty in the third period. Pavel Zacha, Elias Lindholm, these are guys that are relied upon to kill penalties, shouldn't be taking those penalties. So a great effort from the fourth line, but that was pretty much it, and that's not going to win you too many games. Let's talk about some more stats from last night's game, as well as the significance of this loss here as the podcast continues. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. And that's where Game Time comes in. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love the view from your seat so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the arena. And there's also no hidden fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go with Game Time. Thank you again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. We are available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, so please do smash that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing. Now, Marco Sturm kind of summed it up perfectly after the loss by saying, that is not our standard. We have to buy in on our defensive effort. The Bruins are putting up goals. 3.6 per game, which is 6th in the NHL. But they're also giving up 3 goals per game, which is 13th. And that's not what Sturm's system is built for. 37 shots on goal for the Vegas Golden Knights last night. Only 24 for the Bruins, so they were quite outshot in this one. To get the 5 goals on 24 shots, it's pretty good. I mean, that's a game you should come out with. Of course, Vegas loaded, and they had the advantage last night in terms of the shot attempts and shots. I mentioned Vegas had 6 power plays compared to only 3 for the Bruins. In all situations last night, Vegas had 53.6% of the shot attempts, 60% of the shots, 63% of the high danger chances, and the expected goals were 5.1 to 2.17. So the Bruins had much more than expected, but they also allowed one more than is expected as well. At 5-on-5, it was pretty even. Expected goals were 1.86 for Vegas, 1.88 for the Bruins. High danger chances at 5-on-5, the Bruins had the advantage, 9-8. They had 51.4% of the shot attempts, 55% of the scoring chances. So if they had just been a bit more disciplined, they would have had a better shot in this game. The penalty kill still strong at 90%, 7th overall, but it faltered last night in a key moment. Not only did they allow the 2 power play goals, but they allowed a shorthanded goal as well. Special teams were not their friend last night. And if they had been able to convert, not even just convert on the power play, but not allow a shorthanded goal, they would have been in a much better position. And those are game-changing swings that underline why Sturm keeps preaching details and discipline. The special teams have been better. It's 21st, the power play. Penalty kill 7th. They're scoring goals, 6th in the NHL. But the buy-in has to spread past the 4th line. The silver lining last night was that the Bruins effort players got it. The 4th line was their heartbeat. Stella Corrali were setting the tone. Esimot was relentless. Tanner Jeannot contributed. Husnudinov got the night off, and it paid off. They're trying to balance culture and results at the moment. Sturm still trying to earn trust in the room. Games like this help him send a message. Ice time is going to go to those who are playing the right way. The identity is kind of forming. It just isn't fully locked in yet, or locked on for our purposes. Overall, the Bruins should have had a better chance to win last night. You look at the numbers, 5-on-5, they are pretty good against a very good Vegas team. And then you get goals from Jeannot, Zadorov, Kostelic, Asimont, these are guys that should be providing that secondary scoring to your top guys getting the job done. And apart from that one power play goal by Pasta, assisted by Geeky and Lindholm, the second line was invisible, outmatched at both ends of the ice. And at 5-on-5, the other line wasn't able to contribute all that much. The significance is chalk it up to another learning experience for Sturm's Bruins. We knew this was going to be a tough road trip. I was hoping for maybe 3 points out of a possible 6. The Bruins had an opportunity to steal a point last night. Unfortunately, again, similar to the Tampa game, they allowed it to get away from them. But to their credit, again, they didn't allow that lead to grow. They fought back and brought it to within 1. We're not able to get that tying goal. Big picture, they now have 6 points, record of 3-2, a 600-point percentage, which puts them in third in the Atlantic, tied with Toronto, who's also 3-2, ahead of Florida, who's 3-3, the Senators, who are 2-3, and who have lost Brady Tkachuk for a considerable amount of time. The Lightning struggling. They're 1-2-1. Buffalo got their first win of the season the other day, but they're still down at the bottom at 250. Bruins goal differential sits at +3, which is tied for second with Detroit, Toronto. So they're still right in the thick of it. It's obviously still early. They've only played 5 games, 77 remaining. And a couple big still tests on this road trip coming up with games in Colorado and Utah back-to-back. Korpisalo is going to go in one of those. Overall, though, Jeremy Swayman, despite allowing all those goals last night, his save percentage still pretty good. He was at like 966. He's now down to 916, which is still very, very good and like above his career average. So could he have been a bit better? Perhaps. Was he hung out to dry a little bit? Perhaps. Somewhere in the middle. He's allowed 8 goals on 95 shots through 3 starts, 2-1 record, 2.68 goals against average, 916 save percentage. Still much better than he was last season. And again, the depth hasn't been an issue for this team. All but 3 players have points so far this season. Jeffrey Viel almost got that goal last night. He was pretty instrumental in only 11 minutes, 50 seconds of ice time, but he was a +2. Husnudinov, no points. He was scratched, like I mentioned, could get back into one of these games over the weekend. And Hampus Lindholm, who was not able to come back for yesterday's game, hopefully he'll be back over the weekend. He has yet to record a point as well. We do need to see some more from Mason Lohrei, although he's +2 after being -43 last season. Got his first assist last night. Victor Arvidsson only with 1 assist. Fraser Minton still with only that 1 overtime goal. They all have 1 point apiece. That third line might need some rejigging, as well as the second line. I don't know how much rope Victor Arvidsson has on the second line. Maybe you put him on the third line, reduced minutes, and try Husnudinov on the second line, or recall one of the younger guys who are off to hot starts down in Providence. Maybe that's a question for next week. In the immediate future, though, the Bruins have games coming up against Colorado and Utah, and those are games we will preview here as the podcast continues. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. People love using FanDuel because it gives them so many ways to play. You can build parlays, try player props, even follow the live lines during games. Makes watching football, hockey, baseball playoffs even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what exactly are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started. $5 bet. If it hits, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. It will not get any easier for the Boston Bruins over the weekend as they will be going into Denver to take on the Colorado Avalanche and then heading to Utah to take on the Mammoth. Colorado right now 4-0-1, 9 points, which is the most in the NHL. They have a +8 goal differential, which is second in the NHL behind only Carolina. This team is a wagon. Not missing Mikko Rantanen at all, as Nathan MacKinnon and Martin Necas are proving to be just as formidable a duo. Utah, this is perhaps the most winnable game on the schedule this weekend for the Bruins. They are 2-2 through 4 games. Let's see if they will be playing on Saturday, which would give the Bruins, actually they're playing tonight against San Jose, so they won't be having a back-to-back, which will be an advantage for them. Colorado will be a very tough out for the Bruins. I wouldn't even call this a measuring stick game because the Bruins do not match up well with Colorado. Let's be honest. They're elite in transition. They're led by McKinnon, Necas, Cale Makar. If Boston's defensive details aren't sharp, they're going to get exposed pretty fast, just like they were last night in Vegas. The top line needs to contribute 5-on-5. The second line might need a shakeup or at least a kick in the butt. I would expect Joonas Korpisalo to get the start in that one because the Bruins have been going back and forth. But I could see a scenario where they just go back with Swayman, who's the number one guy, against the better team, and then save Korpisalo for the game against Utah on Sunday, which is winnable, but it's a potential trap game. The Mammoth are scrappy, and the Bruins, the final leg of a road trip, maybe they tweak the roster a little bit, coming off the back-to-back to get some guys in who are fresher. Maybe John Beecher gets into the lineup for the first time this season. Who knows? But this road trip could get away from them pretty fast here if they do not tighten things up defensively. Looking specifically at the game on Saturday, what's striking about Colorado is that they're averaging only 3.4 goals per game, which is actually fewer than the Bruins. Their power play is ranked 23rd in the NHL, which means they could be due for a bit of a little breakout here. Necas leads this team with 9 points, but only 1 power play goal. McKinnon with 8 points, 2 power play goals. Cale Makar right now has no power play goals. So only 3 power play goals for this team. 2 of them have come from McKinnon and Necas. So they could be due to break out a little bit. The Bruins actually have a better penalty kill than this team. They're scoring more goals, but Scott Wedgwood has been amazing for this team so far this season. He's played in all 5 games, a record of 4-0-1 with a .939 save percentage. So they might want to go with Swayman to match up because Korpisalo only down at .851. Now, Colorado's beaten Utah, Buffalo, Columbus. They haven't really been tested so far this season. In fact, their only loss came against Dallas and Mikko Rantanen. The Bruins started off, of course, 3-0. They've now lost 2 in a row in regulation. but they haven't rolled over. They've kept their fight up, and that is an encouraging sign to me. I had said earlier this week to hold on this team pending this road trip. Didn't get off to the great start last night. That's not the kind of game they want to play. And Sunday will be the most winnable game. Power play for Utah, dead last, 16th in penalty kill. Not a good face-off team. Scoring only 2 goals a game. They're allowing only 2 goals a game. But this will be a winnable one for the Boston Bruins. So hopefully they can eke out a point against Colorado, grab the 2 points against Utah, and then come home for some games next week at the friendly confines of TD Garden, where they will, first host Brad Marchand and the Florida Panthers in a must-watch game on Tuesday, then take on Anaheim before hosting Colorado next Saturday afternoon. Before we wrap up today, I'm going to anoint the Bruin of the day. This one's kind of easy. Sean Kuraly once again. 2 assists in Vegas, strong on the dots, some pretty heavy defensive shifts, setting the tone physically. He's doing exactly what Marco Sturm wants from his veterans. And we talked a lot about the kids versus veterans debate. Why sign a Sean Kuraly when you have a John Beecher already or guys knocking on the door? Kuraly's not flashy, but he is accountable, reliable, driving energy from the fourth line. And if the rest of the lineup mirrors Sean Kuraly's compete level, the Bruins could be just fine. And that's what this weekend is going to be about. Tightening up, matching effort with execution, and proving that the bottom six's energy can be contagious. We need to see a lot more from the second line, a lot more from Morgan Geekie and Elias Lindholm at 5-on-5. Coming up on Monday, we'll have full recaps of the Colorado and Utah games. Talk about whether the Bruins' top 6 finally found its rhythm. In the meantime, please follow the show at Locked NHL Bruins and me at Ian C. McLaren on social. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Helps the show keep growing, keep you part of the conversation. Also, check out the Locked On NHL Game Night podcast next, where our local analysts break down every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You can find that on the Locked On NHL YouTube channel. Have a great weekend, friends. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.